So today we're going to be talking about Europe and the implications the Brexit will have on young people and the citizens here in the UK.
I was on Facebook and it said, like, with the whole what's happened with Hillsborough and how the truth's come out, that without the European Union and the Human Rights Act, correct me if I'm wrong, that without that the truth wouldn't have come out.
The European Human Rights Act was enacted by the Council of Europe, which is a separate body to the European Union, if I'm correct.
So to me, I think that my elected representatives in Brussels are much more relatable and well conducted than my representatives here.
You know, the voter turnout is very, very low.
Yeah.
And I think it's generally that it's signalling that the UK, so that the population of the UK is just disconnected with Europe, and people are just getting sick and tired of kind of the bureaucratic, nasty nature of the European Union.
If people think that it offers political participation, but like levels of political participation are so low, especially in young people, then why are they in an organisation? Why are we, like, all the citizens who don't know who they're electing in? Why are they all in, like, a confederation that they don't understand? Surely that's not democracy.
What do we think about Brexit's implications on our jobs, our future in terms of education, as young people?
And it's a reflection of how the European Parliament hasn't done enough to make the case that young people should be more involved with it.
So I think for the future that there'll be a greater number of jobs for people available, and perhaps better quality jobs in which, you know, British law can regulate them and ensure these people, like, they get the best jobs.
Because, as in, I've done a bit of research into it, especially universities, a lot of teachers will lose their jobs because a lot of people are European, come from different countries.
Yeah.
The less students there is, the less jobs are going to be given out, the less funding they're going to get as well. Then you've got the people who do come over around Europe or here just to actually learn stuff and get a decent education. So they can't get
Our
it.
education system, and specifically our universities, are held in such high esteem all around the world anyway. As you say, I mean, we do get a lot of demand for it. I think the government will be under such intense pressure to make some sort of arrangements to keep students coming.
I want to be sure of my future, and I think that above anything, leaving is uncertainty, and that's not something I want.
Like, we haven't got something to go, oh well, that might happen because we're going to leave. It's not
But
quite
we
it.
shouldn't.
I've travelled abroad. I've lived abroad last year for the whole year. I couldn't went and done that and lived my life and made money and come back. I would have to stay in England
Yeah.
and do what? Not
We shouldn't be relying on some sort of support system. We should be strong enough to work on our own with a 6-12 years country.
I'm talking like Liverpool. I think if we leave the EU, so much European funding is going to be pulled from the city, and like Liverpool One, the Echo Arena, all that been helped with European funding, and I don't think the Tories are going to send money up to Liverpool to watch us flourish.
If we left the European Union, we'd have more money because we wouldn't have to put money into the European Development Fund, which the government could then spend on projects in this country.
You know, people don't know who their MEPs are. It's an
Yeah.
invisible system that we've got going on where people are unaware of who's representing them, and that is undemocratic.
At the table, if you have issues with the EU, then surely we should be members of it, so we can help dictate where it's going and direct it and drive it.
What about our British people? Because there's homeless on the streets, and
there's 3 million displaced people across Europe.
we have no homes, and the refugees, these immigrants are just coming in here and they're taking our jobs.
At the end of the day, this is the world has changed. You know, we're globalized. Everybody's connected. You can't stop people moving across borders. You cannot do it. It's simple. You want to survive as a nation. You want to be prosperous. You want to get growth. You cannot seal off.
The UK has been at the forefront of dialogue within the EU when it comes to ISIS and talking about anti-terrorism and counter-terrorism strategies. So how is leaving going to ensure that we're still having that place at the table? We're still involved in that dialogue and discussion.
I was going to say, the EU at its heart is not a defence bloc. That's why we're in NATO. That's why we coordinate with the countries of NATO, the United States, Canada as well.
Given that a lot of the attacks are happening in Europe, then surely the EU has a stake in that, and to argue any different would be a bit bizarre.
Council of Ministers, unelected, well, not elected directly, made up the head of states of European countries.
It's secondary democracy, and I think that if you weren't comfortable with your government choosing who your representative is, then why did you vote for that government? The refugee crisis, how is leaving the EU going to benefit the 3 million people displaced across, well, from different countries, I guess, who are currently in refugee camps with nowhere to go. How are we supposed to help them if we're not part of the discussion?
Nations on their own acting individually to help these people. And Canada has taken a lot of refugees, not really.
Well, what we're talking about. People ask me, am I tough enough?
3,000
Don't like Jacob Rees-Mogg.
3 minutes.
In fact, I might go the toilet, like.
I was expecting that.
And it's a reflection of how out of touch.
Thank you.
Right.